this moment. Sometimes I really have to sit down and do that, or I will literally buy everything that gets released, and that would be crazy. Floral, I don't know. Okay, I have to use my makeup because otherwise there's no point in buying it. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. For today's video, we're going to talk about 10 palettes that I almost bought but didn't. This is a video idea from Angelica Nifqui. She did a collaboration with Teresa's Dead, and I just thought it would be fun to sit down and talk to you guys about 10 palettes that I almost bought recently. I'm talking like the last 6 months, so not like recently. If you're new here, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. I am currently trying to do Vlogmas, upload every single day, not vlogs, but beauty style videos. So this is just a little chatty video I thought we would just do, and yeah, let's get into this video. I actually want to go in order from the newest to like the oldest. The first palette I almost bought, and I like put it in my cart and I almost bought it. I almost pressed the buy now button. Is from Olimar Cosmetics. It's the Encanto palette. So the Encanto collection that just looked so pretty. I really love Olimar Cosmetics. I love their lip glosses. I want their highlighter. I haven't tried it yet, but I love the brand in general. She's Cuban, I'm Cuban, hello. Yeah, the entire collection just looks so pretty, but it was just so pricey. And as an indie brand, I can understand why her prices are like that. The color story of that palette was totally my vibes, and I almost bought it, but I didn't. I also do have a lot of similar colors in my collection, maybe not in the same palette. I know I can probably create that color story within my collection, and I'm thinking about doing videos like that when palettes are getting announced, just kind of going through my collection and looking through. Cristina does a similar video idea, and I don't know, I always find that really interesting to see what you can come up with in your collection that's similar to what's being released. Anyway, I really like this color story. I almost bought it. I almost did. I just like the whole vibes. I want to see the movie too. I haven't seen the movie. The blushes look nice. I really want to try the highlighters. I've been dying to try the highlighters. It's just that the collection was so expensive. We just bought a Peloton. That's literally the reason I couldn't buy it. We bought a Peloton, and that's a pricey thing to buy, so I couldn't pick it up. It was just not in the budget this month. I haven't tried the eyeshadow formula from Olimar. That was another thing holding me back. I have never tried the eyeshadow formula, and I was afraid that it wasn't gonna live up to my standards, you know. So I held off on it. I don't know, it might be something I end up buying in the future because I'm a clown and I'm gonna end up buying it. It's just so pretty, the packaging, the colors. I just really want to support the brand. I love Olimar. Again, they have my favorite lip gloss formula. If you haven't tried it, highly recommend them. But yeah, I didn't end up picking that one up, obviously. I'm kind of cheating here. We have the Natasha Denona Glam Face and Eye palette. Now, it is a face and eye palette, but it is basically an eyeshadow palette too, so I thought I would include it in this video. I almost bought it, but I didn't. I even saw it in person in store at a Sephora in Puerto Rico, and I was like, do I want this or do I want what's on my eyeballs right now, which is the Milk Cosmetics Amor y Mariposas collection, or palette. I wanted this one, obviously, so I went with this one. They're both around the same price, to be honest. Actually, the Natasha Denona is a little cheaper, but I just felt like that's so boring to me, honestly. I was really expecting something more. This has been sneak peeked for so long, like months before it released, and I knew that it was coming, and I was just like, when I finally saw it, I was like, do I want this? Do I need this? It would be perfect for travel. Don't get me wrong, like, you have your eyeshadows, you have your highlight and your blush. Everything is right there. What would have been even more awesome is to include a bronzer in that, honestly. Include a bronzer in there. Just have everything in one palette. I totally get it, but the colors are just so boring to me. And I have that even in Natasha Denona palettes throughout my collection because I own pretty much every single one of the rest of her palettes. So I'm like, do I really need that? And I also like that there's a light and a dark option. Honestly, when I was looking at this, I thought the light option would even be too light for me, and I'm pretty fair. I just don't think it gives enough depth. Like, the eyeshadows don't give enough depth. I like really deep looks, so I really was gonna get the dark, but then the blush would have been too dark. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of face palettes, like mixing those two together. I see the convenience, but it just wasn't something for me, so I decided against it. I even went in store and I swatched it, like I said, and let me tell you, pretty gorgeous shimmer shades in that palette. When I swatched them, I was like, oh my god, I want it. But then I really thought about it, and I'm like, is this really something that I'm gonna use besides travel? Like, I would just use it when I travel, and that's it, and that's like not something that I want. I know I'm gonna get a lot more use out of this palette that I actually did end up buying instead, so that's why I picked it up. I don't know, let me know what you guys think. Did you pick it up? I know a lot of people did, and I know a lot of people love it because it's Natasha Denona and she's great. Her eyeshadow formula, obviously you can't beat it. So next up we have the Danessa Myricks Lightwork Volume 3 palette. This is a palette I might end up actually buying, so I might be eating my words, but it'll be like in the future because, again, too many expenses lately, so I have to be practical. This is $125. The only reason I didn't pick it up right away is because it's not a cohesive palette in my opinion, in that there's no mattes in here. It's literally just shimmers and like metallics. They're gorgeous though, so you have to use another palette to go along with it, and it's just not practical for me. On a daily basis I use like a whole palette, a whole entire palette. I don't want to go through digging my collection, even though like when I'm doing a specific look, then yes, I will definitely do that if I have to, like honestly, for sure. But I don't know, this is really pretty, especially those like iridescent shimmers and the big pans. Oh my god, literally speaks to my soul. There's some really gorgeous duochromes, multi-chromes. Like Danessa Myricks knows how to do it. I really like her as a brand, so I definitely do want to try it. I want to pick it up at some point, but it's so pricey. And I was gonna get it at the Beautylish gift card event. That's how long ago, like I was gonna buy it, like I really was. But then I don't know, I had to be practical about like my expenses and like what I wanted to buy. There were other things that I was prioritizing over that. So I don't know. It's just so pretty. It is so pretty. It's something that I definitely want to pick up in the future. It's something that I know I would get use out of, but it's just not a cohesive palette. And I would have to dig into my collection for something else and just use those as toppers or as, you know, the shimmer shades, the metallic shades, you know what I mean? Ugh, but I would still use it. I would get a lot of use out of it. I really would. It would be a pleasure to use, and I'm sure they're gorgeous and they're creamy and buttery and smooth, and I love them, I'm sure. But I just didn't pick it up, so yeah. Next up is from Rare Beauty. We have the Discovery eyeshadow palette, now the new one, because the old one, like, it didn't really speak to me as much. It's a very neutral palette. This newer one, that shade in the middle, the big one, it looks like the Danessa Myricks shades in the middle, the big ones, you know what I mean? A really gorgeous like topper kind of shade, and the color story just speaks to me a lot more. The purple, the pinks, it's really pretty. And I love Rare Beauty as a brand. I love Selena Gomez. I was gonna pick it up, but then I was like, I don't know. I also really like her other eyeshadow palettes. My hubby bought me her original palettes, the two original palettes that are just straight up shimmers. And again, those are palettes I have to use with other palettes in my collection just to pick out some mattes, but seriously super worth it. Like, I didn't care, like I would do that anyway. But yeah, the formula is really, really nice. I do enjoy the formula of those a lot, so I figured I would like this a lot, but I don't know. I didn't end up picking it up for whatever reason, and I do want to try it at some point because I'm curious to see how she formulated her mattes, because obviously her other two eyeshadow palettes that I own didn't have mattes in them. Again, I just love Rare Beauty as a brand, so I definitely want to support, but it just wasn't on my like list of priorities. There were other palettes that were released around the same time that took priority over that, obviously, so didn't end up picking that one up either. Next we have from Colourpop the Witching Hour palette, which is the newest of the Hocus Pocus collection. I was gonna pick it up because I'm a huge fan of Hocus Pocus. I'm a huge fan of Halloween. I really did like the color story of this one, and I know I would get a lot of use out of it, but I had to be practical at that time period. Like, it was released around the time where I was starting 31 Days of Halloween, or in the middle of 30. I don't remember when it was, but I was very, very busy in October. I was doing 31 Days of Halloween, a lot of crazy intense looks, full body paints, you know, that kind of thing. So I wasn't gonna get my review up in time, and it just wasn't practical for me to buy it just because I wanted it. Like, usually when I buy something, it's to review and to, you know, hopefully get some sort of return on that review, you know what I mean? It's really hard to explain. Colourpop releases so much that by the time I got my review up, it would be irrelevant, which is kind of what happened with the Nightmare Before Christmas collection. Unfortunately, it just wasn't, I didn't get it up in time, and nobody really cared about it. So it really has very low views for my channel. I really did enjoy that palette though, and I do enjoy the Colourpop formula for the most part. It is a really nice, affordable, you know, great for the everyday makeup consumer, lover, whatever. Not my favorite formula on the market though. After trying Natasha, Denona, and Pat McGrath, you know, I just really don't enjoy Colourpop as much for that. Colourpop still makes my favorite foundation of all time. The Pretty Fresh foundation is seriously so bomb. But yeah, I was gonna pick up that palette, but I just knew by the time it got to me and by the time I would get my review up, it would be irrelevant and it would kind of be pointless. And I don't know, it's just not something I'm missing in my collection. I have all those colors, even in probably other Colourpop palettes in my collection even. And honestly, they just released so much. And I don't know, I literally bought the Nightmare Before Christmas collection just for the packaging, for the whole aesthetic, the whole vibe, and the fact that it was the Nightmare Before Christmas, which I love so much. And I was gonna do the same this came out before the Nightmare Before Christmas collection, so yeah, but the color story is really pretty. It was just also kind of monochromatic for me too. Like there's a matte that accompanies a shimmer. I don't generally love looks like that. I like to like have contrast in my looks. So I just knew, even though I liked the color stories, I liked the colors in the palette, it wasn't gonna be a palette I used quite often either. Anyway, I love the packaging, and I don't know, the shimmers look so pretty in the promo photos, but yeah, I just didn't pick it up. Colourpop just releases way too much, you know what I mean? Next we have the Glam Light Happy Hour collection. Now, specifically the Margarita palette I was looking at because it is so pretty. The color story was stunning. It's just got all these really pretty bright shades, really colorful, totally my vibes. But I was looking at it and I was like, this I could dupe in even my Glam Light Michaela palette almost. Like, there are so many similar shades in that palette. So I was like, is it even worth it? But I really liked the whole aesthetic of this collection. Like, I was gonna buy all 4 of the palettes. I even had them in my cart. I was getting ready to pay and I was like, do I really need this at this moment? Sometimes I really have to sit down and do that, or I will literally buy everything that gets released, and that would be crazy. So I had to take a step back and I had to be like, do I need this? I could dupe this in my collection. I could dupe every palette in my collection. I really like the Glam Light formula. I like the shimmers. They're very, very, like, not the shimmers, the metallics are very intense. They're like that intense metallic. I like this. Might be a palette I end up picking up at some point, at least the Margarita palette, maybe not the entire collection. The other palettes are a little too monochromatic for me, and I don't generally like that. That's why I was really looking at the Margarita palette specifically. But the wine palette's also pretty, very nice purple color story, but again, purple monochromatic. And then the Dirty Martini is also just a very green monochromatic. The Chocolate Martini looks cute too. I just love the whole vibes of this collection. It wasn't something that I was gonna pick up. I don't know, I almost did though. I really almost did. It was in my cart, but no, I didn't. Next we have the palette from Gucci. This is called, I have to like look at it when I'm pronouncing it, Beauty des Floral. I don't know, it's the Floral palette from Gucci Beauty that was released, I think, back in September. It was available for pre-order. I was in Miami taking care of my mom after she had her hip replacement surgery, and I put it in my cart and I was literally about to buy it. And then I was like, this palette is ridiculously expensive. Let's see, I think it was $120, $125, and the pans just look so small. Even in the pictures, I was like, do I really want to spend that much money on a luxury eyeshadow palette when I don't know the formula? Like Pat McGrath, I know her formula. That's why I own every single mothership. They're around the same price, $125. And the pans are bigger, you know, I know the formula. I know I'm gonna get use out of this. I don't know the formula, and honestly, after seeing reviews, I'm glad I didn't pick it up. I will not be picking it up. It's purely something that if you want to have like a luxury item in your collection for the packaging, just to know that you have it, and someday, you know, 50, 100 years from now, your kids or your grandkids can actually look at it and think, wow, this is vintage Gucci. Like, that's really cool. That's something that like I considered in the moment too. I was like, I want to do that. I want to get it just for the packaging and just to have something Gucci at some point. But then I had to be practical, and I was like, I'm not going to use this. It's not even that nice of a color story. And I've heard that the formula just isn't that great. Like, it's not Pat McGrath quality for a Pat McGrath price. Although there are more shades in this palette than there are in Pat McGrath palettes, it's still not something. Are there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yeah, there are more, but it's only by 2. Anyway, not something I'm gonna pick up ever, probably. And I don't know, the packaging is nice. It would be nice for that aesthetic, for that vibe, for the future of having something vintage Gucci. Just think about that. Like, that's so cool. But no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. Next, we have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Primrose palette. Now, this is a gorgeous everyday palette. I think it looks really, really stunning. I'm a big fan of the ABH formula, especially their original palettes. No, I like the Norvina palettes, the pressed pigments ones a little bit more. I'm not gonna lie to you. I like them a little bit more. They're a better formula. They're just more intensely pigmented. The color story is more my vibes usually, but I was like, oh, this would be a very nice everyday palette, but it's so boring. And then there's also like a big pan at the end. I believe it's a bronzer, but that's not gonna suit every skin tone, you know what I mean? I almost put this in my cart. Like, I looked at it on launch day. I don't think I ended up putting it in my cart even, because I was like, I'm just like, it's not for me. And I would have loved to review it for you guys and see if it's like it would be a great fit for you guys for an everyday palette. I'm sure it would be, because the formula of ABH eyeshadows is very good. It's just not something that I was gonna go out and buy, because I just knew that I would probably review it and never touch it again, and that's not something that I want want to do often. Okay, I have to use my makeup because otherwise there's no point in buying it. So I didn't pick it up, but I've heard some people really like it. I still don't think I'm gonna pick it up. It's not practical for me, for sure. Next, we have the Urban Decay Naked Cyber palette. Oh, I almost picked this one up. I was holding out because Urban Decay is so nice to me, and I am on their PR list, and they do send me stuff quite often, but it's not everything. I was kind of like hoping that they would send it to me, and it just never got to me, and I'm like, I kind of wanted it, just I didn't want to buy it myself, and I would have loved to review it for you guys. I am a huge fan of the Urban Decay Naked palette formulas. Usually those are better than the other like collaboration formulas, like they did the, what's it called, the Eternals collection. That palette was actually okay. I didn't mind the formula of that one. It's not the best. It's not like the Prince collection quality, which that was like chalky mattes and not very great shimmers at all. I do like the Naked palette formulas. Usually they're very, very nice. The Naked 3 palette's my favorite of all time, and they were actually so nice, and they sent me a new one. Oh my gosh, I have a new Naked 3 palette because my other one is hella expired. It's like I bought it when it was first released. Like that's how old it is, like 10 plus years I want to say. But the Naked Cyber palette, I really wanted it because of the color story. It was a little bit different than the other Naked palettes where it's just kind of monochromatic and neutrals usually. Then I thought about it, I'm like, there's not enough depth in that palette. There's not a lot of shades that go really deep to create like depth in looks, and that's what I look for in an eyeshadow palette. It was just kind of pastel-y shades, and while I did like the color story, there just wasn't something to build up a look, so I ended up passing on it. If they send it to me, I won't be mad, and I'll still probably like do looks with it for you guys if that's something that you're interested in, but it's not something I'm gonna go out and buy myself, I don't think. Even though I'm sure I would love it and I would use it, even though I would probably use it as a companion palette with something else because I just need depth in my looks. How many times can I say that? And lastly, we have the Colourpop It's a Mood palette. This is the one of the newer, actually I think they released 2 new ones since then, mega palettes from Colourpop. I almost bought this. I even had it in my cart. I believe the first day they launched this, it was actually on sale. They had a sale going on, so I almost bought it because it was even on sale. But then I looked in my collection and I have the So Jaded palette, which is the collaboration with Kathleen Lights, and that color story is so similar. It's like gemstone jewel tones basically, so I was like, I don't need this palette if the So Jaded palette is so similar. There were actually rumors of people saying that that was going to be the replacement palette because they're no longer making So Jaded. I'm really wondering what's happening with Kathleen Lights and Colourpop because I think their entire collaboration is just like gone. None of their collab items are like available anymore, which is sad because I love the So Jaded palette. It's one of my favorite Colourpop palettes that they've ever released, honestly. But yeah, I didn't think I needed it, even though like there are some differences and I probably would have gotten use out of it. It's just I feel like I would neglect my So Jaded palette to use this newer palette, and that's not fair to So Jaded, you know what I mean? So I gotta like take a step back and realize that I don't need every palette that comes out, right? But yeah, that completes this video. Let me know, give me your palette of choice, the palette that you almost picked up but didn't. I would love to know. And yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps me out so much. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye. Next up, we have the Natasha, next we have the Glam Light Dirty, next we have the Glam Light, what's it called? Let me know a couple of palettes or a palette or 2 that you almost bought but didn't. I would love to know what your answers are, what you would pick, what you haven't picked up because you just didn't pick up. What am I saying?